this is my third ECBC conference, and listening this morning, I would love to speak about sustainable finance, but today I have been asked to speak a bit more about implementation and challenges of the covered bonds and put it into the broader framework. So, and of course, what I'm going to speak about, there is a lot of hard work of my team, Commission's team, and all the involved people. Just I will try to summarize where we are and then what are the main benefits and main challenges going forward, and then put it into the more broader context. So we are in the final phase of the finalization of the new directive, waiting for the publication and translation to really see the final version. And then there are still 2.5 years from now, basically, until this new framework will come into force in reality. So there is still a way to go. So on the general side, the new directive, of course, is a very important milestone in the harmonization because we, for the first time, have a European definition of covered bonds, which I think it's very helpful for all countries and for further harmonization. We have a safe product, which can now be understood in a common way across the single market. So this directive enhances the quality of the product and investor protection, and is also bringing new opportunities to sell products more cross-border, as it's going to be more harmonized. This is all going the direction into objectives and implementations of the Capital Market Union, big project, which then is going to continue. So the new directive not only ensures that the covered bonds which are explicit in the national legal framework can be labeled as covered bonds, that there is now one common definition, and only those who meet this European criteria can use this label. So this should really help the cross-border selling and increase investor base to include more non-bank covered bond investor meeting many of the CMU objectives. So speaking for the EBA and the hard work of the team there, of course, we are proud to see the extent to which our technical work and recommendations have been used in this new framework. In addition to these general benefits I mentioned, I would like to highlight 3 specific, more technical benefits which we see as very important. These are minimum requirements for covered assets, public supervision, and minimum requirements for extendable maturity structures. These 3 features are, firstly, with the first one, the directive clarifies which assets can be used securing the covered bonds and which not, which is a very important step which was previously left on at the national level. Secondly, the legal framework introduces harmonized rules on special public supervision of the covered bonds, replacing the single reference requirement, the UCITS directive, with detailed set of rules. This is a big improvement, fleshing out powers of competent authorities and setting out rules such as on permissions for covered bonds program, supervision, also in the event of insolvency and resolution, and cooperation between authorities. These provisions, again, provide increased investor protection. And finally, for the first time, the directive introduces the requirement for extendable maturity structures. Although they have become market standards, they were not until now recognized by legislation. And now we have the legislation that ensures investors' protections and facilitates that only covered bond issuers may not use these structures at their full discretion to eventually circumvent the dual recourse instrument. So even before the new directive will come into force, we can see already positive impact on the quality of covered bonds, particularly in Central Europe, for example, in Slovakia. So it's the country where I was born from, but I have no really direct impact on that success. So it's my former colleague Maciej sitting somewhere here who did the most of the part, most of the work there. But I'm proud to speak positively about my own country. So there, the new covered bonds framework has been introduced based on the EBA report and is growing really fast. The same is happening across other parts of the Eastern Europe and Baltics, and I'm sure you know more details about all of this. And this new framework proposed by the EBA is seen as trusted by investors, which is very good feedback for us also before the new directive comes into the force. Having said all of these positives, of course, we know that the directive follows a principle-based approach to harmonization. In other words, aiming to achieve minimum harmonization with options for national implementation and in number of areas. We understand that this has been done mostly with the intention not to disrupt the existing well-functioning covered bond markets. But as a prudential supervisor, we are a little bit disappointed that at this stage, the harmonization didn't go further, because of course, we see also all the benefits of having harmonized framework. So as this framework, as it is, leaves quite a lot of room for national discretions, national transposition, and that, of course, will not bring all the benefits of having harmonized rules, which we would like to see. So, for example, on cover assets, an important step forward has been taken by having minimum eligibility requirement in place. However, uncertainties remain on how to implement them in practice, which might result in different implementation across individual countries. Other areas where we see also potential challenges are practical application of provisions on joint funding and OC provisions. We will, of course, discuss more about this in the follow-up panel. So I would go more into what's the next step and what is the future and how to link this with other initiatives. So we see this directive as a step in the process. So it's definitely not the end of discussion, because now we are at the stage of transposition and implementation. So what is very important is to provide from the public sector support to the implementation to achieve as much as possible harmonized application at the transposition level and practical application. And there, for the EBA side, we are ready to help and support this process with the tools available to us. But also the directive has several review clauses, as you all know, and there will be a specific reports prepared by Commission, consulted with the EBA, some of them after 2 years, other ones after 3 years, with optionality to also propose new legislative initiative or amendments. So the discussion will need to continue on this. And there are specific areas after 2 years. It's covering the third countries regime and extendable maturities. And then also the possibility to introduce ESN as a new instrument. And after 3 years, when this comes into force, which put us somewhere into 2025, there should be a comprehensive report monitoring the impact of the new directive on several areas, which again can lead into legislative changes. So we have not been, especially as the EBA, we have not been mandated to develop further guidelines, standards, or reports, which of course we are a bit disappointed about this, but we stand ready to support the implementation and monitoring of the market with the same level of expertise and commitment as we showed until now. Now let's move into the final few remarks, which I have to say. So how this initiative and how this new regulation links with other initiatives. I was very happy to hear this morning that also the portfolio I'm responsible for at the EBA is really the right one, and you really had an amazing presentation, because the future of covered bonds also links with our initiatives, sustainable finance, clearly, and fintech or digitalization or technology more generally. So the new directive is already well prepared for being linked with the new EU Green Bond standard and be used also for issuing EU eligible green bond, green covered bonds. That's excellent opportunity for all of you to really move in that market, in that space. And then also the energy efficient mortgages initiative is on the other side, is the opportunity to move in the sustainability, to have a good pool of green assets, eventually to issue these green covered bonds. So all the initiatives which I am aware that you are working on are really going the right direction, and sustainability is really something where we need to pay attention going forward. And the other area is general technology and innovation, how this can help in issuance and trading of these products. So, and I would probably stop at this stage, as we are going to continue with a more detailed discussion on the challenges, and I'm looking forward to hear points from the other speakers. So thank you for your attention, and I look forward to continue the discussion.